one thing I notice is that the desire for enlightenment itself is creating an identity for me. Once I do inquiry on this area, I am curious what will be the motivation factor if I lose the desire for enlightenment.
When we talk about the desire for enlightenment, it depends on what our understanding of enlightenment is. True enlightenment, that is, our real nature is the infinite light of pure awareness. This light of pure awareness is never hidden, but it is obscured when we rise as ego, because as ego, instead of being aware of ourselves as just I am, which is the light of awareness, we're aware of ourselves as I am this body, I am this person. So what is called enlightenment is nothing but the removal of this, of what is obstructing the ever-shining light of pure awareness. What is obstructing is our rising as ego and consequent false identification. We identify ourselves as I am this body, I am this person. So the desire for enlightenment is fundamentally different. If we understand what enlightenment is, if we've got some idea that enlightenment is something that we're going to gain, if we have a wrong understanding of enlightenment, then that desire for enlightenment is a desire for something other than ourselves, which is obviously a misdirected desire. If we understand that enlightenment is nothing but what we always actually are, then that desire for enlightenment is fundamentally different to any other desire, because it's not a desire for gaining anything. But what obstructs the light of awareness, it never completely conceals the light of awareness, but it obstructs it, makes it appear to be something other than what it actually is our rising as ego. So enlightenment is not something that we gain. Enlightenment is what remains when we give up everything, including our wrong identification. I am this body, I am this person. That dehabhimana is the root identification. Only because we identify a body as all the other identifications come into existence. I am Indian, I am European, I am American, I am Hindu, I'm Buddhist, I'm Jain, I'm a Jew, I'm Christian, I'm Muslim, I'm this, I'm that. All these identifications are rooted in the primary identification, the dehabhimana, the false identification, I am this body. The question is, I noticed that the desire for enlightenment itself is creating an identity for me. That shows the problem there is a misunderstanding. That is, if we understand what enlightenment is, it's not a new identity. It is giving up all identity. So if we identify ourselves as I am a spiritual seeker, that is another false identity. So what we are investigating is I am, not I am this or I am that. So if we really have love to know and to be what we actually are, which is what I think is referred to here as desire for enlightenment, that love will not create a new identity. It will create, it'll prompt us to hold on to our own being, and thereby to shed all identity, all identifications. That it's only when we rise as ego, as I am this person, but we begin to identify with one thing or another. So if, for example, we feel I am a spiritual aspirant, who is a spiritual aspirant? It's because of our identification with this body, but we then feel I, such and such a person, am a spiritual aspirant. That any identification is a false identification. Only our real identity was very clearly and simply expressed by Bhagavan. I am I, aham aham, nan nan. That is, we are nothing other than ourself. So long as we identify with anything other than ourself, that whatever we identify with is reinforced, that is a secondary identity, which is reinforcing the primary identity, our identification, I am this body, I am this person. So if we really understand what this spiritual path is, the desire for enlightenment is not the desire for gaining anything, but the desire to give up everything. In other words, the love to surrender ourselves completely, to give up all forms of identification. So if we are identifying ourselves as I am a mumukshu, that is, again, it's a false identification. It is, we are not mumukshus, we are not spiritual aspirants, we are just I am, nothing other than I am. That alone is our true identity. Regarding what is the motivation factor, of course we need to have love to follow this path. But that love is not a love to gain something. But I, Michael, want to gain something called enlightenment. So then I wear it as a badge. I am enlightened. I am a jnani. I am self-realized. This is all a complete misunderstanding of what the spiritual path is. The spiritual path is about holding on to what we always actually are, namely our own being, and thereby shedding all other things. That is, to the extent to which we hold on to our being, all identity, everything we identify with will drop off, because we identify with things by identifying anything is grasping that thing in our awareness, in our attention. So, but when we focus all our attention on our own being, all these false identities will drop off, and finally what will remain is what we always actually are, the pure eternally adjunct-free awareness I am. So love is absolutely essential, but that if we take it that the love to know what we actually are is a new identity, we are missing the point. We haven't really understood how to apply this in practice. We don't need to identify ourselves. I am a spiritual aspirant. I'm a mumukshu. I'm a devotee. I am this, I'm that. This is all just adding to the reinforcing the primary identification, I am this person. So our aim should be to hold on only to our own being, I am, and forget everything else. The very nature of ego is grasping. As Bhagavan says in verse 25 of Ulujunapadu, Urupatriundam, grasping form, it comes into being. Urupatri nikom, grasping form, it stands. Urupatri undu mika ongum, grasping and feeding on forms, it flourishes abundantly. Uruvittu urupatram, leaving form, it grasps form. So the very nature of ego is grasping. And the driving force behind grasping is desire. It's because we desire to maintain this false identity that we now have taken. I am this person, but we are constantly grasping other things. So we cannot be without, if we don't love to know and to be what we actually are, we'll love other things. Well, our love will take the form of desire for things other than ourselves. So our aim is not to lose the desire for enlightenment, but to lose ourself in that desire, in that love, just to be as we actually are.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, I've heard a story or something like where some people who come and ask Bhagavan, I only want enlightenment. I don't want anything else. Please give me enlightenment. And after the people leave, like Bhagavan used to say that if they really know what enlightenment is, they won't be asking for it, implying
Yeah, yeah,
implying
yeah.
that it is giving up of everything and
Yeah,
not gaining anything.
exactly. People have um, a very poor understanding of what enlightenment or jnana or moksha or whatever it is. They think it's something that is to be gained. It is not something, as Bhagavan says, we are nitya mukta, we are eternally liberated. But our natural state of eternal liberation is seemingly obscured by our rising as ego. So, and Bhagavan also used to say, if jnana were a new knowledge to be attained, it would be lost, because whatever is gained will be lost. Whatever comes has to go. So jnana is what we actually are. As he says in, for example, in verse 13 of Uludranapadu, he begins by saying, Jnana mam tane me. Oneself who is jnana alone is real. So that is what we always actually are. So we're not seeking to gain something other than what we always actually are. So we're not gaining anything. Our aim is to lose everything.
Yeah, in Maharishi's gospel, Bhagavan said, the thought of I am not enlightened itself a bottleneck for that. That's what he beautifully says.
Yeah, yes. Because any thought, I am enlightened, I'm not enlightened, both are false identification. What is true is only I am, not I am this or I am that. If we start off with an idea, I'm not enlightened, then we need to shed all ideas about ourselves. Then what will remain, that is jnana, that is enlightenment.
So simple.
Yes. So simple, but it requires all-consuming love. Though it is simple, why we haven't yet given up everything, because we still have too much desire and attachment for things other than ourselves. So we have to persevere with this practice until all our interest, all our liking for anything other than just being as we are drops off.